Hello, and welcome to Here's the Thing with Robbie and Jose, where we explore relationships through a male and female perspective. With me, as always, is the lovely Robbie.
Hello, Jose.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm well. How's your week been?
It's been long.
Yeah.
But the good thing is, what is it? Season 3
Yeah.
of Love is Blind.
We're back at it again, guys. We just wrapped up season 2, and I know it took us a long time, but we're on season 3. We're super excited. They're here in Dallas. I did have, before we get into it though, I had a disclosure. I just wanted to say, if this is your first time joining us for Love is Blind, we don't really do a blow-by-blow of the show. There's a lot of things that are packed into these hour episodes. There's a lot of couples. We basically try to find kind of talking about the scenarios that they find themselves in as it relates to the real world. So even if you don't watch the show, you may still be able to relate to some of the stuff that we're talking about. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's fun that way. We can kind of go wherever we want with it, and
Yeah, it's a different perspective all the way around, right? So we're not critics of shows, or
right.
I like the concept of the show, but
Yeah.
for me, what's interesting is the dynamic between men and women and the whole dating thing, and then as it progresses into marriage, and then, well, even before marriage, right? When they're engaged and kind of still getting to know one another,
Yeah.
that's always the fun part for me.
Yeah. So if anyone doesn't know the premise of the show, it's basically, can you fall in love without seeing the person? So they have all these strangers that they pick for the show, and they're talking through a wall basically, and then they try to make connections that way. So
Yeah,
yeah,
as much as they can.
yeah,
I think, if I had a critique on the show all the way around, it's not. I like the concept. I just wish they took a little bit longer to get to know one another.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the problem is, however long that they're in those pods, it's like a
10
week or
days.
2. Is it 10 days? Okay, that's still not very long.
Yeah.
And well, that said, I don't know how many hours or how many.
I think I looked this
How
up.
much
I
time?
think that you can set dates at any time. Like, they're basically open 24 hours. So if you woke up, or if you were up late at 1 a.m. and maybe you contacted one person, they want to say, hey, you want to go have a date? The pods are open.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah, so they can basically go in whenever they want.
okay.
When
Well,
the,
yeah, I
when the
didn't know
mood
that.
strikes them, I guess.
Where did you read this,
I think it
Miss?
was like an article on the thing called the internet.
The internet. That thing's still around.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're here in Dallas, and the first thing that I wrote down that I kind of wanted to talk about was Nancy was talking about advice that her father had given her, and he said to marry your best friend or something like that. And I
Yeah.
know you and I had talked about this
Yeah,
several
I don't know why
times.
I wanted to bring that up too, but
Yeah.
anyways, go
But I
ahead.
immediately thought of you because I am of the feeling that you should be friends with your partner. Like, I think it is really important. I agree with what her dad was saying. Like, you have to have that friendship. And I know that you said that, I don't know if you really believe in that part.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm on the fence, right? Because you could be friends with somebody, but the problem is you can't get rid of the romantic part. So in other words, if I'm hanging out with a friend, and if let's say I flirt with somebody on purpose or otherwise, maybe on accident, or maybe I'm not even, or maybe that person's flirting with me, my romantic partner is going to have a problem with that. My friend wouldn't.
Yeah.
My friend would be like, good for you. But I can see, so that's why there was another part of that, because they said something along the lines of, I do remember that. And they said companion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a more accurate description than friend.
Yeah.
Because friends won't get mad at you the same way that a romantic partner would. And they would get mad at you for different reasons,
Well, I
obviously.
think there's different levels of the word friends, though. That's what I think the point of it is. Maybe you're fixated on like one definition of that, but there's a different type of friendship that I would have with you as opposed to I'd have with my husband. But I still think it's really important to have that there because, in my opinion, being friends with your husband is like, I love to kick it with you. Like, we can hang out like homies, right? But I'm still romantically involved with you, and that feeling is still there.
Yeah.
I feel like the romantic part, like, wouldn't you not want to be around them as much during non-romantic situations?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So a companion seems more appropriate than a friend.
I know, but I think you're the only person that's using that word. Everybody else on this show is saying they're looking for their best friend.
Yeah, well, in all fairness, they're also in their 20s and their 30s, and they still have quite a bit to live through. I'm not discarding what, their experiences are now, but I can tell you, like even on this one, you hear them say a lot, like, I wish I had a bunch of kids. And it's like, for the people that have a lot of kids, it's like, yeah, that's great. And I'm not saying that kids aren't wonderful, but it's a lot of work too, right? It's like me saying, I would love to be a doctor. If I can snap my fingers today, I'd be a doctor. It's like, yeah, but do you want to do the 7 years, 8 years that it takes to become a medical doctor? Because that's different, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we all want to be a doctor, but to put in the effort, and kids are a whole nother ball of wax.
I think it was actually Nancy. She did say in a few times throughout this episode that she wants 10 kids.
Right.
And I'm not saying that she doesn't want to have kids because she wants to love a bunch of people, but having 10 children, that's, I mean, like realistically, it's difficult, I'm sure, with one.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So the fact that they're saying that they want a friend, I get where they're coming from as far as they want to hang out with them and chat and so forth. But I think a companion is more appropriate because friends, I don't know, it's a different thing. And maybe you're right. Maybe it is a very narrow view or a very narrow description or definition of what a friend is. But then you can open that up. But a companion, right? Somebody that you can talk to, they don't have to want to do everything that you do, but they have to understand you.
So you would still tell a companion all your deepest, darkest secrets?
A companion, yes, because a companion implies that we're going on this journey together. Mm-hmm. We're in this thing together, and we're going to learn more about each other as we move along. My friends are my friends. They're not going anywhere, but they can't be part of everything, obviously. And again, they're going to judge me differently. They're not going to, well, in most cases, they won't judge me at all. They just accept me exactly the way I am. I mean, if I can get that, that'd be great.
I'm sure there's a lot of friends that judge other friends. We just don't say it,
but
there's still judgment there.
But they probably wouldn't be that much of a friend. And even at that, even if they were trying to make you better or give you advice or whatever, sometimes as friends, you just say, you know what, you're going to do whatever you're going to do. That's just the way you are. I can say that's just the way Robbie is. Do I agree with everything she says? No, but that's just the way she is. And I still care about it the same way. But a companion, that's somebody that's going to go with you. You're on this journey together, and you have to be able to tolerate one another. And I use the word tolerate because there's certain things, like I think one of them on one of the dates or something had described something. Oh, that's what it was. It was Brennan. He was saying, well, I don't know Alexa all that well, but if she chews with her mouth open, then, I'll get over that. And it's like, okay, maybe you will, maybe you won't. As a companion, somebody that you're, let's say going on a journey with, that might be something because that's going to be the person that you're going to go on this journey with, right? And the expectation is we're in this thing together. So you might as well have some compatibility, not everything. I strongly believe that, and I think relationships, they do have to work at it, but I also think that they should have their own kind of life independent of that. Like I still think it's a balance that you have to have.
Right, I understand, but you still wouldn't do everything with your best friend anyway. It's still the same thing. I get what you're saying, but the words that we're saying is basically the same. It's just like, I want someone that I can have fun with, share all my secrets with, and that is going to be my ride or die. Yeah. But, we have this different level of relationship, I guess. But I mean, you see that a lot with the people on the show. I think I hear best friend. I hear that term over and over and over again. Like they should call it like, I don't know, best friends is blind or something. I don't know, but they're all looking for their best friend is what it feels like. They
do. So, and I might reference this a little bit, but I was watching a documentary about Hemingway the other day. And he was talking about, they were discussing his childhood. And when he became an adult, obviously, he had different either wives or girlfriends or whatever, but he still had that need to have like friends to be out in the wilderness, go hunting. Like that's what he liked to do, go fishing. He was a big outdoorsman. And that's what I'm saying, like when you find a romantic partner, they might not like doing everything that you do. I can tell you right now, for me, I love watching rom-coms, and it seems like the last couple of girls that I've dated, they don't like rom-coms at all. So it's disappointing, but what are you going to do, right? It's like, nah, that's the end because I need, again, a best friend that's going to like that. But There sometimes they just don't.
Yeah,
It's
but
just,
there's a lot of things that you like that I don't like.
I know.
So it's possible. I mean,
it is.
I'm just
but
saying,
but
best
in a
friend.
romantic, it's different because I'm sitting at home, and if I want to share something with another person, right? Yeah, if we're friends, that's the whole thing. With friends, you still go do whatever you're going to do, and then I'll go do mine. But if you want to share your time with them, a companion, somebody that has some of the same interests, if you have more. If you have like, let's say 70% of the same interest,
Math.
yeah, you might have a chance. Yeah, that's because I was trying to
come here to do math.
I'm a guy.
Nobody wants to do math.
But I don't know, but I do hear that a lot. And what's funny about that? I'll even play devil's advocate. I think that's why sometimes when you do find a friend in a romantic partner, the breakup is that much harder because now you've broken up. You can't be friends anymore.
Right.
You just can't. Because, you can, but it's going to cause problems down the line for the next individual. And they'll even say, like, I love this person as a person. We're friends. We're great. I just can't marry them for one reason or the other, right? And so, yeah, it's hard. It's, but yeah, maybe I'm taking such a narrow view or description on that, but friends, yeah, okay. I'll say companion. That's what I'm looking for, companionship more than a friend. I have a lot of good friends.
But that's actually a good segue to my next point. We were talking about having the same type of interest. So we see Raven and Bartise, and they're having a date, and they're both talking about how much fitness and health is to them. So Raven is a Pilates instructor. I don't remember Bartise what he does for a living, but he's very fit. It's very clear that he likes to work out. So they're kind of sharing their interests on that. How I feel like for people where working out is kind of like their life, I think it's good for those people to sync up with those people because that's all they love to do is for fun. It's for pleasure. It's for work. It's all these things, right? I don't think Raven would do well with a guy who just wants to sit around and watch Netflix. Like she likes to be active. Yeah. So I think some interest, depending on how dedicated you are to that, they do play a huge part in a person that you meet.
Yeah. It has to be. I was looking at the stats just on everybody to see who would match up. And I think they're closer in age, and some of them even on the Brennan and the Alexa, they're closer in age too. But what is it, Bartise, right? Bartise is an accountant. That's I tried to do that myself because I thought I really wanted to do that. It's different.
Well, you were trying to make us do math earlier.
But you have to sit down. You have to really study. You have to understand numbers. And Raven is a Pilates instructor, which let's just say she's following her passion, which is to say she doesn't want to sit in an office all day long. Good for her, but he might. That's what I'm saying. He likes to work out, but she also likes to do the service industry thing, right? They had that hard conversation. She was like, hey, I don't know if this means anything. Guys have a hard time with it. And because I started thinking to myself, well, why would a guy have a hard time? But then it was like a aha moment or like a duh moment, which is she's going to be out all the time and be around men that are going to be hitting on her all the time. So, of course, it might become problematic for any guy to have his woman out and about and knowing that that's going to happen.
Yeah. Just a backstory in that in case you didn't see it. Raven kind of was trying to admit to Bartise that she has basically a nighttime gig, but the way she was saying it was very like ominous. Like, I know, I didn't know what she was going to say, but I think there's more to that than what she said.
Obviously
she said she's a bartender and does bottle service, but she was being so
cryptic.
Yes, that I think that there's more to that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more to that. There's a lot more to that, but yeah.
I just think that if you meet someone on a first date or whatever, and let's say it's very clear what their passion is, and that's like their whole life, if you have no interest in that, would you really even try to pursue it at that point?
Well, and again, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. So if it depends on how much weight we put in to their passions, right? Because like I was saying, I like rom-coms. Okay, yeah, whoever I'm dating doesn't have to like them. Fair enough. But if we like and we're clicking on all the other different aspects of my life, then sure. I like going out for walks. I like, going out to pumpkin patches. But my point being is that, again, if we can find some common ground, I think it'll work. Plus, it's also personality.
Yeah.
Some people's personality just jive. And it has nothing to do with what they do for a living or what their interests are. They just really enjoy each other's company, let's say, right?
But I think a lot of the people, you said something earlier, it just made me think of this. I think a lot of the people that go on this show, you know, when they do their first interviews and stuff, it's like, yeah, I'm tired of being superficial and people only judging me on my looks and blah, blah, blah. And I want to do something different or whatever. But we've already seen 2 seasons of this. You see how that kind of plays out. It's like, you may say that you don't want to care about looks, but it's, how can
everybody on there looks good. So just FYI.
Well, yeah, they have attractive
accident.
people, but they have had couples in the past that were not attracted to each other. So it's like, you say that you want that, but to actually have that in front of you, it's really hard to look past. Because then you're realizing, I am superficial a lot. I thought I could be different, but
yeah, that's a hard pill to swallow. But therein lies that's the opportunity for growth, because there were some people on there that are unapologetic, as they put it, about their standards or the things that they're looking for, and good for them. Because the way I feel about it is like, okay, you're at least being honest about the fact that you want a tall man, you want him fit, you want him whatever. I forgot what her criteria was. Good for you. Now, the ones that say that that's not an issue, they have some things, right? Because we find out, like you said, over time, turns out they can't look past it.
yeah.
So now what do you do? And that's why I'm saying it's an opportunity for growth, because now you know who you are. Now, whether or not you continue to go down that route, that's up to you. Or if you really want to change and say, okay, you know what? I realize that this is the way I am. I need to stop being this way. And what do I need to do to work to become? And this is just not just for the superficial part. This is for any aspect of your life.
Well, even Raven was admitting that she was like, her weakness was muscles and this and that. And it's like,
Not dad bods. So I was like, man, if she would have said dad bods, I'm your dude. Short guy with dad bod. Ooh, that's my jam. But I'm sorry.
it's
Go
like,
ahead.
I mean, her admitting that, but then she said like in the same sentence, like, yeah, but then it basically just crashes and burns. Like I shouldn't. It's like, well, yeah, if you're going just after looks and nothing else, it's probably not going to work out. But is she going to change from the show? I don't.
No, because in the pod, she was asking him about Bartise, whether or not he worked out, and he was, obviously we all peacock after a while, and he was like, yeah, right before I came on this show, I was gonna be in a physique competition and all this other stuff. So he's basically telling her, look, I'm pretty fit as far as guy goes. So obviously that made her spidey senses tingle, and she was like, oh, it made her ears perk up, because she knows.
But that's what I'm saying. She just said, like, I don't want to do this, but that's what I'm saying. Everybody that goes on the show, they keep saying, like, I'm such a good person and blah, blah, blah. Like, no, you're just as shallow as everybody else.
Yeah.
Looks are important because you still have to have that attraction.
I agree. And until they stop lying to themselves. The moment that because we saw it in, season 2, right, with Shayna, because she started out that way. At the very beginning of that show, she was like, yeah, I can date a guy that's whatever she said, a 7 or a 5.
But if he's, like a 10 or whatever.
It like bumps him up 2 numbers and like, fair enough. But he still needs to at least be a 5. Whatever a 5 is to you. And that's the thing. Everybody's...
Yeah, you have no idea what their standard is.
And what I would say is, for me, because I've kind of looked back at the women that I've dated, and I've been attracted to all of them, mind you, but they all look different. And they were attracted to me for different reasons. So there is a little bit of the physical aspect. I'm not going to lie to you there. But I can tell you right now, the kinder that she is, the sweeter that she is, the personality that she has, to me, I get way more attracted to that. But I'm older. So that's the other thing. They're in their 20s, and some of them like in their 30s, but for the most part, they're in their 20s. It's a different criteria. So for me, being 46, I'm looking for companionship. So I understand the value of an intelligent woman. I understand the value of a kind person. I understand the value of treating people with respect, right? Because I know I've dated enough and I've been around enough people to know what that is. So yeah, the looks, great. Hopefully they're there. That isn't important. But I would say, if I was going to use, I would say maybe 40, maybe 50%, because there has to be some attraction to it. But it's not by any means the most important part. And I have done this where at first I was like, yeah, she's okay. But then over time, as I get to know them and like get to know their personality and hang out with them, like I fall pretty head over
Yeah, but you
heels.
still have that. Oh, she's okay. You
No,
still have
no, no,
that.
no. Because at that point, it's way different.
No, I'm saying that has to get you in the door.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
have
yeah,
to
yeah,
have
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
little.
yeah. That opens it up for
Yeah.
yeah. But and I've done the opposite too. And I don't know if every guy has ever done this, or I'm sure women have, where they're really good looking. Like they're traditionally good looking women. But then as I get to know them, I'm like, oh, I'm just not liking her at all. Like because that only gets you so far. That's a part of a relationship. Obviously, the physical attraction and the intimacy, that's a part of it. And it's an important part. I'm not saying that it's not, but it's not the only thing.
Is that why good-looking people seem to stay together? Like,
I
I mean, because if
guess.
you're both kind of surface level, you know what I mean?
Nah, I don't know. I've never been good looking, so you'd have to tell me. I don't
But yeah. So, and then we meet Andrew.
Andrew.
Andrew, I know you have some feelings about Andrew, but I don't want to talk too much about his personality. I was kind of more,
Okay.
when we meet him, he talks about he travels a lot for work. I think he's like a photographer or something for the wild. He takes
Well,
pictures
his
of
official
cats.
title is consultant. Just start out with
Yeah, we talked
saying
about that last season. Consultant is an analyst or this umbrella for basically every job out there.
But he wants to be a photographer, is what he
yeah.
says, is what his passion is now.
But yeah, he travels a lot and things like that. And I was thinking about for someone like me, that would deter me if someone was never really around. I'm sure some guys don't mind it as much, but I don't know. I feel like the majority of people, if you have a job like that where I don't know if I'm assuming he's gone for a few months at a time. I don't know how long he's gone when
Yeah.
he goes on these trips. Cause he's like, yeah, I've been to, and he lists all the countries and whatever.
Yeah.
But would you be okay with someone like, let's say you go on a first date and they say like, oh yeah, I travel for my job and here's kind of what my travel agenda is like.
Yeah.
Would that deter you?
I was married to a flight attendant. So
Yeah, but she's not gone for months at a time.
No, but she has gone for an extended period of time. So if you add up the time that she's at home versus the time that she's away for work, she's probably away for work a lot longer than she is.
Yeah, but she wasn't a flight attendant when you guys met. So like I'm saying if you meet someone, would you be okay with that?
That's what I'm saying. It's an acquired taste. That's what So initially I didn't like it and I wasn't all that thrilled. Over the years, I got used to it. But, we had gotten married and then she became a flight attendant. So it was different. Now, if I was dating somebody, I suppose I could, but only because I enjoy my own company.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be hard for you to be faithful in a brand new relationship if they're gone for 2-3 months at a time?
Me, no, but I can see where there's a lot of temptation because, well, that's the whole point, right? It depends on why you would step out. So if it's because you're lonely, that's a different issue all the way around. Because for me, like I said, I enjoy my own company. If I'm sharing my life with somebody and I know they're eventually going to come back, then so be it because I get to enjoy my own company. And then when we're together, we can hang out. But that's not for everybody. I can tell you that there's a lot of even guys, friends of mine that I've spoken to, and they're like, I can't do it. There's no way I can do it. Like, and only because here's the thing. Here's the downside to that is that you have to put everything on hold, right? Life goes on. So if somebody's traveling and you're having a bad day, there's nobody for you to talk to. So you just have to learn to cope with it one way or the other, maybe see a therapist or whatever. But you have to learn how to do that. Until they get back home, they're not there. So you can't share your feelings with them.
No, but I think it would be hard for someone like Andrew to find a woman who's like totally fine with that and loves like
He would do best with finding somebody that was just as adventurous and going on
Right.
adventures with him. Yeah.
right, something similar, or maybe you travel a lot too, then yeah. But it would be hard for someone like him to find, I think.
Well, yeah, because it's difficult. People get lonely.
Yeah.
People just get really, 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 really lonely. So, but yeah, I mean, good luck to them.
Yeah. But then we meet Colleen. And in case you didn't know, Jose, she is a ballet dancer.
She is a ballet dancer.
She
She's a
only
ballet. What does she do
mentioned-
for a living again?
I think she said ballet dancer. She only mentioned it like 1,000 times throughout this episode.
She is a ballet dancer.
So this is my feelings on Colleen based on this episode, because she they do this montage of her telling everybody she's a ballet dancer, which I found online. She does do that, but that's not really her job
So
per
she's
se.
not a ballet
She
dancer?
is.
Because this is some controversy.
But I think she's like a PR, like something in PR. But anyways, my point is she's like, I'm a ballet dancer. Like, oh my God, I'm so flexible. And that's all you need to know is I'm flexible and I can do all the splits and everything. You know, she's very like, and good for her, right? Like if she wants to portray like, look, I'm sexy. I can bend every way. Cool. But then
super cool, actually. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about that.
she meets Cole, which she doesn't know how to spell Cole, which was weird.
Coal, right?
Because I've been a lot of Cole's named like that, but it's spelled like that. But yeah,
I didn't even think about it. Don't get me started, because as soon as you said that, I was like, the English language. I have so many issues with the English language, right? But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, she meets Cole and she like kind of falls for him or whatever. And then later on, you see it in the same episode, she kind of does the same thing with Brennan. But like basically, she kind of cries multiple times throughout the episode. And it's like, I can't find anybody that wants me for me. And she's like, you know, I feel like it's all superficial and they want to be with me because I'm a ballet dancer. But then in 3 weeks, they get tired of it or whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, because.
Yeah, so we actually have to go back a little bit and put that into context, because there was a lot of stuff that happened to her in regards to that, right? So the first thing is Brennan and Alexa are jiving. So Brennan is actually talking to Colleen and Alexa, but he's gravitating towards Alexa a lot more. And then, so Brennan, being a stand-up guy, or at least in my eyes, he pretty much tells Colleen, hey,
breaks it off.
yeah, it's like, look, she's my number one, you know, and it's the decent thing to do instead of leading her on anymore. Like, sorry, but, you know, I have feelings for somebody else more, blah, blah. She takes that rejection very, very hard, goes away, and it's like, okay, fine and dandy. And then there was another one where she was talking to Cole, and they were doing really, really well. She had guessed what kind of socks or what kind of animal was on his socks and whatnot. But then when it got into the deep conversation, she said something along the lines that I just don't like going deep. I like to stay somewhat superficial. So he was just like, yeah, that's not going to work. So I can see what she's saying about it feels that way, but if she thinks that it's her personality, maybe it is. In my opinion, though, this is not a bad thing, because this is how you weed people. That's the whole point of dating.
Right.
If you guys, are physically attracted to each other, great. But obviously we've taken that away. So it's just strictly personality.
Yeah.
This is going to cut to the chase a lot faster.
Yeah, because Colleen's really cute. So, I mean, in real life,
cute,
like she's probably has no problem. But that's what I'm saying. Like her complaint is like, nobody likes me for me. But then she admits to Cole that she's really not looking for anything deep. She's like, I like things to be surface level. I don't like to get deep. And Cole did the right thing too. He's just like, look, I'm sorry, but like, I don't want to marry you. Like, you know
Not
what I mean?
That anyway.
Exactly.
I'm looking for something deeper.
Exactly. Yeah. Which it was kind of weird because Cole reminds me of Shane and Barnett from season 1, like them two together. And Colleen is a lot like Shayna, you know, and then, but it's just really weird. And Cole has another, like talking to someone else later on, but like, you know what I mean? Like I think that she's mad at the thing that she's not working on though. Like she knows she needs to grow. You can't just be superficial. She's young and hot now, but like she says she wants something deep, but at the same time, she doesn't want to go deep.
Yeah. So but she's not, it's the personality, the thing that but I don't know how much she can work on that, because she is the way she is. I'm not saying that people can't
she's really
grow.
Young. Yeah, she's pretty mature.
But that seems to be her pain point, is that she feels like she's being rejected because of her personality.
Yeah.
And you know, I can't speak for Brennan. Obviously, he fell for Alexa pretty hard. But from Cole's aspect, right, from a guy's aspect, again, she doesn't really want to get too deep,
right?
Which is fine. But how are we supposed to make a life together if I don't know anything about you?
She's not ready for marriage.
Well, I think there's something deeper there, right? She's guarding herself, and I get it, because I go on a lot of dates and I hear the same thing over and over, which is to say, they'll tell me like, I'm very guarded. I don't like to share my emotions. I don't like to share my feelings. I don't like to, and I get it. Why? Because you're afraid that that's going to be either used against you later on, or that you're going to share all this information with somebody and then all of a sudden it's not going to work out and then it's over. The problem is you can't get that without that. You have to put yourself out there. If you guard yourself too much, you're just basically, it's going to be inevitable. Nobody's going to put up with it. Yeah. Nobody is going to put up. Let me rephrase that again. Nobody is going to put up, again, unless it's a very superficial relationship or an arrangement, if you will. If that's the case, then great, go forward and move on. But you have to put yourself out there. There's just no getting around it. In order to be loved, you just have, it just is part of it. That's why it's such a fleeting thing. Otherwise, everybody would be able to do it. But you just never know.
I don't know. Colleen seems like kind of what we were talking about earlier. It's like you meet someone and you're attracted to them, but that's only going to take you so far. And then most of those, it sounded like, I don't know for sure, but she made it sound like a lot of guys leave her or reject her after a few weeks because she didn't say this part, but they basically get to know her and maybe it seems to them that there's no substance there. Mm-hmm. It's just like, let's party. And it's like, again, that's cool. But if you're trying to get married, you're going to have to shift gears a little bit. If she just wants to party and that's cool. Like she's really young. You could still go do that, but you're on this show, you're trying to find marriage but you're like, I don't want to go deep. It's like, well, then what are you doing here?
Well, I will say this, right? And this is probably a bad saying, but it was a saying that they had back in the day is that for guys anyways, that there's girls that we date and there's girls that we marry.
Yeah.
And that sometimes still holds true.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, right, whether that's, but I'm sure that's the same thing for women too. This is not unique to men, right?
Yeah.
Like there's men that women date and there's men that they would not want to, they can date them, but would never want to marry them at the same time. And it's like, that's unique. I mean, that's not unique to men.
Yeah.
It's universal. So, but that's part of the dating thing where you kind of get to know each other. And then again, if you're not jiving, then you're not jiving, and you can't blame anybody for that. And I would just, if I was her friend, I'd tell her like, look, don't beat yourself up about this.
Yeah.
You're just not jiving with them.
And I don't know what it's like to be in this experiment, but it just seemed for her to cry from rejection from someone you've known for a day or two, it just seems strange. Like I don't know her backstory, but I think that she needs to grow a lot and mature. And I'm not saying that young people can't get married, but she seems like she just wants to party. And my point with the ballet dancer thing, it's like you're leading with sex only, but then you're mad when guys don't look at you for more than that. And it's like, well, and people may hate my opinion on that, but it's like, if you're going to lead with that, if you sleep with all these guys on the first date and then none of them call you back and you're like, why can't I find somebody? It's like, well, are you really trying to really connect with someone emotionally? It doesn't feel that way.
This is what I would say, right? And this is, so it's not the ballet dancer thing exactly, right? But that seems to be a big part of at least what she believes is her identity, but it's really not. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not discarding that that's her passion and that she loves to do that. But if that's the sum total of who she is, that's a problem.
But she's using it as a pickup line.
Well, yeah, that too. But here's the thing. Like, again, I'm going to go back to Hemingway because his mom was an opera singer and she, stopped being an opera singer and she taught afterwards. But, in the documentary, they were talking about how she reminded the kids all the time. Like, I gave up a lucrative career as being an opera singer for you kids, right? So my point being is sometimes you do have a passion and you want to go forward. But you're right. She's the same thing. She's starting out because the ballet dancer, she could say that in passing and be like, okay, let's move on, right? Like everybody else, they all have careers. I'm an accountant, I'm a data engineer, I'm a consultant, I'm an analyst, but then you keep on going. But you're right. She keeps on dwelling on the fact that I'm limber. I can do these things. I can stretch. I can do split is what she said.
And that's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know. So you're right. It's like, okay, stop. Don't mention that.
Right.
If I'm a millionaire and I'm super successful and I have a lot of money, and I'm over here. My complaint is women only want me for my money. I probably won't disclose that from the get go. I'll be like, I will talk about
Yeah.
everything else. I'll talk about a business that I have. I'm a business owner,
Yeah, but
or
if
I'm
you
an
go to the
investor, and that's it.
restaurant and you put down your black card or whatever and you do that to floss, then yeah, women are gonna
Exactly. If I go in there, exactly right, and then at the same time turn around and say, "Oh, I hated the girls are after me just for my money." It's like, well, stop leading with that.
right.
I would just go in there and be like, okay, if I was dating and I was a millionaire, I'd be like, I'm an investor,
Yeah.
entrepreneur. You make up whatever you want to
Yeah.
from that. Get to know me. But and again, this is the tricky part. If let's say they're saying, well, that sounds like he doesn't have a job. That can be sometimes. And then again, it's really is personality. But this is where, when it comes to matters of the heart and reality, kind of butt heads, right? Because the reality is, if we didn't have to worry about money, who knows what the world would look like,
Yeah.
right? If we didn't have to worry about bills, and we didn't have to worry about where our food is going to come, and everybody had the same amount of money, blah, 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 who knows? Maybe everybody would end up with people with the exact same whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But because life, as we know it, that stuff is important. And for guys, they tend to, they're visual people, so they are looking for somebody more attractive, and obviously they're hearing things that they like, because they were all like, that sounds good. That sounds good.
Yeah.
You had me at limber, I think is what he
Yeah. Yeah, that'll get all guys' attention for sure. But to hold it, that's a different story. But yeah, I'm sure she's sweet in real life. I just think that her leading with that and then complaining about the same thing, it's like, I mean, she's just young.
I could tell you, you know what the fascinating part for me was? And I don't know, obviously they cut away, so it's not in chronological order. Not even the first episode. But what was it? Nancy and Alexa were already talking about marriage and kids, and like, I was like, I wonder how many dates they've been on, right? Because if they've only been on like 2 dates.
I think that was the first day, because I think that what you talked about earlier, the first day they're super dressed up with their makeup done, their hair done, and then they're in pajamas the rest of the time.
Yeah.
But I think it was the first day
Yeah.
that they were having that
So
conversation.
that was weird to me, because I was like, is that a conversation that women have? So I'm asking, is that a conversation that women have?
I don't think I've ever said after one date, I'm going to marry this person. Like, I don't think that's ever happened for me. I don't think any woman's ever said that to me either. I'm thinking that maybe because if they have 10 days in the experiment, if we let's do math again. So let's say the natural lifespan of a person, let's say is 80 or whatever.
Yeah, which Bartiz seems to think that he's going to live to 80, because he was like, if I'm 80, I'm not going to have this body. So dude, if you're 80, trust me, you're fine. Anyways, sorry. But yes, if they're 80, so what was your, where were we going with that? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to apologize. I apologize for interrupting.
Oh, I'm just saying the 10 days, it's a really short amount of time. So I'm saying maybe that conversation, if you have so many years of a natural adulthood, let's say, you're cramming all of that of the finding the person in 10 days. So maybe after day 1, you would be like, oh yeah, we're going to get married. But no, I don't. Write in, let us know. Is that a conversation that's normal for women to have, of one date with a guy and you're like, I'm going to marry this person?
I have been in, I will say this. I've been in situations where it feels right after the first or second date. So what Brennan and Alexa are going through, I know exactly what that feeling is. And I think, anybody that's ever gone through that really does know. If you haven't, you're probably looking at them thinking, you guys are nuts. Like, how can you be talking about love? And how can you be talking about all this other stuff?
I'm going to raise my hand over here because I have no idea what that's like.
That is, it's a very euphoric feeling. It's one of the best feelings. It feels like everything is clicking. It's sometimes what relationships, it might take 6 months to a year to start feeling. They're feeling it almost immediately. Now, the problem with that is that will fade over time. And the reason why it fades is because life gets in the way. So right now they're in a bubble, right? And because they're in a bubble, they don't have, or they're not contending with the rest of the world. So I've been in situations where, let's say I dig somebody, I dig a girl, but then, and you see it in rom-coms all the time. Breakfast Club is a great example of, yeah, they like each other, because in that one it's I can't remember, Judd Nelson and Molly Ringwald. They come from different places. She's more preppy and hangs out with the let's say the mean girls or whatever. He's more ruggish, blah blah blah. And so even though they like each other in the movie, they know and they even talk about it, which is why I love it so much. It would never work in the real world because they have the world to contend with. Everybody would judge them for being together. Everything else comes into play. And so even me, whenever I date somebody, I'm still susceptible to that. They have to get along with my friends. They have to get along with my family. It's hard for me to date somebody and then they don't get along with them. Then it becomes problematic because now I have to decide, do I stick with this person or do I hang out with my friends or do I just keep those two worlds separated? Because imagine, let's say you're having a really good time with somebody, right? And you've fallen madly in love. Grease is another one. Grease is a perfect example. They fell in love. They were in a bubble. They were out in the sand, doing their thing, Danny Zuko and Sandy having a great time. And then summer was over. Then they got back to the real world. And even he, as macho as he was still susceptible to that. He was like, he didn't want to express his feelings. He didn't want to show this. And for her too, they both felt like they were getting judged. Him more so. So the world has a way of, I don't know if it's social norms or whatever, but it's going to be interesting to see that relationship as they go. But I'm telling you, whenever you fall for somebody that quickly, it's addictive. It's so addictive because it just feels like nothing can go wrong. It's very euphoric. You found this person. Like I can't really explain it to you. And I don't do drugs or anything, but I can't even compare it to any drug where it's just complete euphoria. Like I just can't. It's very hard for me to describe. Unfortunately, that will wear off, and we'll see what happens after it wears off.
It does happen a lot in this show because a lot of the people on here say that same thing. So I mean, I feel like it's probably just because you can't see the other person. You know what I mean? You're connecting on that level, and maybe because it just seems to happen for a lot of them. Like, I love you. It's been 2 dates, but
even The Notebook is the same kind of concept, right? He's a blue collar guy. She's from a higher class family or whatever. So, like, I don't know why, but that has something to do with it. Social classes and just life in general bump up sometimes.
Well, another thing I wanted to talk about is Nancy was having a date with Bartiste, I think, and she has a secret of her own as well. And her secret is that she is an egg donor. And she's donated several times. And I'm not saying that this is weird or unusual because I'm sure a lot of women do it. But she was saying that when she's told men in the past, they're like, because she basically probably has children out there and she'd signed a consent form to say like when they're 18, they can look her up. And so in her experience, she told guys and they're like, no, you have kids with other people. Basically, I'm out. And she told Bartiste and Bartiste was very accepting. But like, how do you feel? Because I think it's sweet too. Like if you're helping a family that can't have a kid, I think it's amazing. But from a guy's perspective, I mean, if it's happened to her multiple times, that means a lot of guys feel that like, nah, I can't be with you because you do have kids, who knows how many all over the place.
That was a weird, not a weird in the sense that I wouldn't imagine that would be a problem for guys. I just don't. That's why Bartiste really, he gave an answer that would have been the same for me. And I don't know that any guy would really have a problem unless maybe perhaps if they were ultra conservative, perhaps. But
yeah, she made it sound like it was, or she said she even lost friends over it. That friends who were super religious said that she was doing basically a bad thing because it wasn't God's way and all this and that. So it's not just the men that she's met in her life. A lot of people in her life have disagreed with her decision, it sounds like. But so you're saying if you met a woman and she said like the same scenario, you'd be totally fine with it.
I wouldn't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, because she would never meet them. Like they have, those things are done in so
well, after they're 18. That's what she's saying. Like once the kid's 18, they can legally, because she signed the consent, they can go look her up and find her.
Yeah. I wouldn't, me personally, I wouldn't have an issue with it. But you know, I'm different too.
Yeah, I guess it does seem strange. I don't know. I'd be curious to know how women feel about that. So if you're a woman,
I would be more upset if she said, I have like 10 kids and I don't take care of all of them. Like
well,
I don't know where they're
yeah,
at.
of
Like
course.
for real kids. Like I had them and, you know, but I just don't
But
care for them.
I'm just curious of like what women would feel if the guy said that. If the guy said, "Yes, I donate my sperm all the time and there are multiple children out there," how a woman would feel like hearing that from someone.
I
So
don't know. How would you feel about
I don't know.
it? Because you're the female here.
I
We
know,
need your
but
perspective.
I want to know what other people think. I don't know how I feel about it. I guess my initial reaction would be the same. It's like, yes, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You're doing this to help people. But I don't know. Maybe the way he delivers it, maybe that's the important part. If I, if he says,
What do you mean by that?
like if
Deliver
he,
it how?
like if he just says, "Oh,
To the
by the
cup, as
way,
far as I know."
I donate my sperm, and I have hundreds of kids all over the place, and so what's your favorite color?" Then you know what I mean. Like your delivery is bad, but if you, I don't know. I think that her story was just, and we only see part of it because it's edited, but it seems like she really wanted to help people, and that was her main goal. And so if a guy said it in a caring way, I may be like, that's really cool. You know what I mean? I don't know. But that's what I'm saying. It depends on how he tells it to me.
Yeah.
If you just say like, yeah, I wanted free cookies, so I go to the sperm bank. I don't know. I'm just saying there's different ways of saying that information.
Sure. Again, I just don't. I fail to see what the issue would be.
Because you're a
exactly.
man. I'm talking about emotionally for a woman, delivery matters to us.
Yeah.
And so if you are going to say something like that and you say it, like I said, I'm not in this situation, but if you were to say it really crass or like you're doing it for money only, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Right.
But I think that she was just more, I don't know. Like I said, I'd be curious to know what other guys or girls think about that. Like, would you have a problem if they were donors and they did have multiple kids out there?
No,
Let us
not
know.
me.
But
No, I mean, but yeah, you can ask the viewers or the listeners to see if they have any kind of feeling about it. But I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out
I don't know.
what issue that they would have with it exactly. She didn't go into depth as to
Right.
why they would
Even
have
the
an issue.
friend thing, it's funny. We were just talking about the friend thing about not judging them and things like that. If I had a friend that did something like that maybe I don't agree with, I would not be friends with them. It's like, if that's what you want to do, that's fine.
Yeah.
But to your point earlier, it's like, well, friends, they don't judge. And it's like, yeah, they do, because a lot of friendships end like that. Maybe they weren't really true friends. I don't know the backstory with them, but she said she's lost friends over it. So it's like, in my opinion, if I'm friends with you, as long as you're not hurting anybody, it's like, just do whatever you want.
I've never donated sperm, or at least not to
Little Jose's are going to write in.
not to a bank anyway, not to a sperm bank. So.
But yeah, just to kind of wrap up the episode, because we haven't talked about them, but Brennan and Alexa, throughout the first episode, you see them falling in love. And I love that she's a thick gal. I really like that finally Netflix put somebody thicker on there. She's beautiful. She actually her face reminds me of one of my nieces, but Brennan on the surface seems like a great guy. I really, what? They are kind of like the Nick and Danielle of season 2. Alexa and Danielle even like laugh the same. Did you get that?
I did not.
Anyways, they kind of had the same laugh, but it feels like Brennan and Alexa are just like Nick and Danielle. I think they were the first couple to get engaged. They fell in love really fast. It's like they knew instantly, and they both seem really sweet.
They do, but I got to be honest with you. It concerns me a little bit. Brandon does. I think and I could be wrong, mind you, but I think he might have abandonment issues. So we'll see how it goes.
What was it that he mentioned?
I think there was something about his family that he was talking about, that they had, because he likes the big gatherings and stuff like that. And he said they had gotten divorced when he was young, I believe, or something like that. So yeah, there's quite a bit on there, but I got the vibe that something might not be 100%. Now, again, like I said, I've been in situations where you fall for one another really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think there's a little bit more there that he hasn't explored.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about Alexa
Yeah.
exactly, but we'll find out.
Brennan seems like I could be totally wrong, but he seems like the kind of guy that when he's with a girl, he's like fully vested, totally in love, wants to do everything with her. He seems like a really sweet guy. And I don't know. I don't know what my feeling is about them right now. It looks good, but I mean, like, they haven't seen each other yet. So just at the end is where they, he proposes, they're in love. He proposes. They cut the end of the episode where they're opening the doors, but they haven't actually seen each other yet.
Yeah,
That
I don't like the way
thing.
that I don't like the way that ended. Let's just put it that way. Because
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, why would she say that the first time? But I don't. There's also another thing in regards to that relationship too. And I will say this because Alexa seems to bring up the fact that she's Jewish. She brings that up a lot, and I'm Mexican. I've been discriminated against as well. So like I understand that part of it. But I don't know. I think that's going to play a factor later on. Not that she's Jewish, but that she might believe that maybe she's being judged or maybe
By his family, because he seems like a country boy. I don't know how they feel about
that I'm not sure. But that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like, I don't know if it, I'm sure it comes from a real place, right? Where, being judged or whatever. But I just don't know exactly, how it'll play out. I can tell you right now, for me, when I was married, it was an interracial relationship, but I didn't let that stop me. So
Yeah.
if that for me, like if my friends didn't like it, or even if her family or my family didn't like it, I didn't particularly care.
Yeah.
So for me, that wasn't going to affect it. For me, I was like, okay, if they don't accept her for whatever, then I just don't need to hang out with those people anymore.
Yeah,
and then
that's-
for me, it would be easy for me to cut that off. But I would hate for that sort of thing to play a part in like, oh, I can't see you anymore because, my family doesn't accept you.
Yeah,
or
Brennan
whatever the
doesn't
case may be.
seem like that. He seems like you, like he would be like, I love her and I
Yeah.
don't really care what anyone else thinks. Maybe we could be totally wrong. I've been wrong about people on this show before.
Yeah.
But he seems really sweet and I don't know. I'm rooting for them.
I'm ready for them too, but there's something about them that,
Yeah.
and I've been wrong before. So I'm just saying,
too.
I've been wrong many, many a times, but I just feel like there's something that has not been discovered between those two.
Yeah.
And I think they need to get to know each other a lot
Yeah.
more. That's what I'm saying. That euphoria that they're feeling will fade.
Yeah.
And it's in that time that you'll find out whether you have the fortitude to go forward.
Yeah.
Because he's going to discover, and this is not unique to them. This is every couple that has this happen to them. They are going to discover things about each other that they do not like.
Yeah.
They just will. It's just part of human nature.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see what happens after that, because right now Brennan is talking a lot of noise about, oh, I don't care about this and I don't care about that and I don't care about this. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, but there is going to be something that you do care about.
Yeah.
And when that thing comes to light that she does, then great. If she doesn't, if she's perfect or like, let's say they're a perfect match, let's say, then great, good for them. But I just feel like,
Yeah. If I had any prediction, I don't know. Like I said, I could be totally wrong, but it feels like if there is some issues between them, it may be because Alexa seems like a very strong, independent woman, strong personality. Brennan is a little bit more submissive, it feels like.
yeah, she's very assertive for sure.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, will he have a problem being, I'm not going to say dominated, but having a very strong woman, I guess, in your life? I don't know.
I don't know about the dominating part, but I will say, and I don't know, but one thing that I started thinking about logistically, so they did it, it felt like it was pretty early on. Again, I don't know what the editing, but does that mean that they still go out on dates, or once they've already proposed, that's it?
I think
and
that's it.
They don't talk to each other anymore?
I think it's maybe like the next day that they meet each other. I know the filming kind of cuts it up, but I
Right,
feel
but they
like
still have to be in the bubble thing, right? Don't they still have
No,
to?
I think like once you propose, let's say he proposed at 6 p.m. or whatever. I think the next day is when they do the reveal, when they shoot it.
I get
Maybe
that.
not when they show it.
I
but
get that. But then after that, do they just go home, or do they just stay in their pods and still date each other?
Oh no, I think they're. Why would they stay?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know, because if they're like, let's say they tell them you have to be here for 10 days, regardless of whether you find a match or not. 10 days is what you have to be here for.
What I would assume is that production, they leave the show, but I don't think production lets them be with each other, because after the 10 days, when they all do, like, they go on honeymoons or whatever,
Right.
the film, they want to capture those first moments.
Right.
So I wouldn't think that they would just let them, like, okay, you guys go be together and we'll catch up in
be
7
together,
days.
But that's what I'm saying. Do they still contact each other via the pods?
No, I think they're out of the pot. I feel like they would just like go home and continue talking over the phone and stuff. But I mean, I don't know.
Well, like you said, if it's 10 days, I think this is what I think. They can still talk to each other via the pod if they wanted to, but they still have to stay there for
but
the
they
10
already
days.
saw each other, so why talk through the screen now?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's what I'm saying. Logistically,
I
I
have
don't
to
know.
research.
I don't know. Anyways, who knows?
Yeah, but yeah, we're rooting for them. I hope the Dallas people, I've said it before, I hope they represent. I hope this isn't a boring episode. I want some juiciness and I want lots of love. And we hope that you guys will stick with us for another season.
Absolutely.
And write in, let us know if you have any feelings about anything we talked about. It's, here's the thing, 214@gmail.com. You can follow us on Facebook too.
Absolutely.
It was good to see you.
Good conversation. Yes, absolutely. It's good to see you too.
Okay, till next time.
Till next time.
Bye.